Our Grand Hero battle unit to go along with the Zophia's Call banner is none other than Conrad. This mysterious masked knight appears in Shadows of Valentia to assist Celica, and well, knowing who he is kind of a light spoiler, so I'll leave that up to you to discover. In Heroes, Conrad is a Lance Cavalier, a class type which does seem to have its ups and downs. While not the most exciting class type for a reward unit since we got 2 this year already, Conrad differentiates himself thanks to some pretty incredible stats. He has 40 HP, 31 attack, 22 speed, 34 defense, and a beefy 35 resistance. Conrad is pretty min-maxed, having really not so great speed, but an impressive 34 defense and 35 resistance. He joins the tie for first in the entire cavalry group for highest base res stat, and while he cannot get a res boon, it's still a very respectable amount. Not to mention that his 34 base defense is very helpful, considering those other high res cavaliers don't even have more than 25 base defense. In fact, Conrad is the one of only 2 cavaliers who even have more than 30 defense and resistance, the other being Fallen Berkut. Unfortunately, all of this comes at a cost of rather average HP and attack with, again, awful base speed. He's gonna get hit twice a lot, so you'll wanna ensure he stacks more defense and res. Thankfully, Conrad's entire base kit helps in this endeavor. His weapon is rather disappointing in my opinion, but it's very practical. Conrad comes with the Barrier Lance Plus, a 14 weight lance that grants +7 resistance when the foe initiates combat. Now, there really isn't anything wrong with the Barrier Lance, but man, it's the same as Berkut's lance, and as we will discuss, there's a lot to talk about regarding Conrad and regular Berkut. I think they could have given Conrad his Blessed Lance as a unique weapon, and while I'm pretty sure the Barrier Lance is supposed to be the Blessed Lance in some way, I don't think it would have hurt to give Conrad a slightly better version of the weapon. It could have kept the same +7 res when attacked effect, slap on a flat +3 res for using it, and then a small extra effect like Renewal or something. Cavalry tanks just don't have a lot to work with in terms of tank skill options, so it's real tough to build them up compared to other movement types. Heck, look at Astrum, our last Grand Hero battle unit. A unique weapon helps him out so much in standing out because there are just a million sword infantry units, and the Lance Cavalry group is in a similar spot. That's the end of my rant. Let's get back to the review. Like I said, while not exciting, the Barrier Lance is a great weapon for Conrad, one of the highest res cavaliers in the game, and he gets even more resistance. Being able to refine the Barrier Lance is a silver lining here because he can choose 4 extra points in defense or res, and also get an extra +5 HP, which is very nice for a tank. All in all, a rather solid weapon for Conrad, and arguably he is a way better user of it than Berkut. With all the magic damage these days, having a high-res tank is nice to have on your team. Alongside the Barrier Lance, Conrad has Glacies as his special. Cannot really complain about that, seeing his impressive resistance stat. His A skill is Bracing Stance, which grants +4 defense and resistance when the foe initiates combat. Barrier Lance plus Bracing Stance gets Conrad +4 defense and +11 resistance on the enemy phase, and that's not including the extra stats when you refine Barrier Lance. A very solid defensive skill, not as crazy as Steady Breath or one of the tier 4 defensive A skills, but for a free unit, I think that's about as good as it gets. For his B skill, Conrad gets Chill Attack, another pretty solid skill. Chill Attack debuffs the highest attack enemy with -7 attack. Useful not only for Conrad, but it benefits his whole team and works at any time from anywhere on the map. If a magic damage attacker gets hit by Chill Attack and they initiate against Conrad, that is a crazy amount of damage reduction. A lot of people may not care for a Lance Cavalier tank, but Conrad makes it very simple for those that want to use him and not break the bank on super premium skills. Sure, he can be better with rarer skills, but for players on a budget, Conrad has a really good base kit to build around. Pretty much everything from his stats to his weapons to his skills come together for a nice and simple build. If you do want to use Conrad, then consider giving him a +1 merge. Normally he would get +1 HP and +1 resistance, but thanks to the neutral nature, Conrad also gets an additional +1 HP, defense, and res that gets him up to 42 HP, 35 defense, and 37 resistance, which I have to say is rather nice. The thing about merge stats for tanky units is that they get a lot of benefits because they use both the extra HP and defense or res. For example, Conrad is getting 4 more points for his magical bulk thanks to the 2 HP and 2 resistance. Very nice boost for an extra 20,000 feathers. Before moving on, I do want to mention that Conrad has 2 default artworks. He has one with his mask on and one with his mask off, which is the one you will see when you inspect his information page. His little icon actually uses the one with his mask on, so just remember that when you try to find him in your barracks. I think this is a neat little touch since Conrad isn't always hiding behind his mask after you learn who he is, but he does wear it on the battlefield, and all his attacking artworks showcases this too.
When I wear my mask, I feel like a true knight, sharp and dashing.
So it hasn't been very long since we've seen this lineup because the Death Knight had made his introduction only 2 months ago. Going to end up repeating some of the same stuff, but Conrad does bring some new discussion, so if you want a more in-depth look at the Death Knight, then you can watch my video about him and some of the issues plaguing him. Now, Conrad is on the slower side of Freelance Cavaliers, joining DK, Berkut, and Clive. His HP and attack are on the lower side comparatively, but not terribly behind compared with everyone else. Where Conrad makes his stand is his combined defense and resistance, which is miles better than everyone else here. His 35 base res blows even the Death Knight out of the water, and while most of our Lance Cav have decent defense stats, it's paired with pretty low resistance. Conrad's main comparisons will be Death Knight and Berkut, and in terms of tanking, he does very well. Stat-wise, he will do less damage, but he's going to take less from enemies. His speed is the same as Berkut, and Death Knight's 25 base speed isn't exactly that great either, unless invested in. All of these guys will probably get hit twice, so having more defense and res is going to be great for Conrad. Now where things can shake up is weapon choice. For all the shortcomings of the Death Knight's Scythe the Sariel, it's a good weapon when it does work. You can prevent a follow-up attack, which is very strong for a tank since that means less damage taken, and you can stop attackers from proccing specials on their second hit. DK is also getting plus for all stats, and it has a slang effect, so yeah, when it works, it's pretty good. For Berkut, his own lance is the same as the Barrier Lance plus when upgraded, but the crazy thing is that Conrad has 11 more res than Berkut. For someone who wants to tank magic damage, that's kind of a noticeable difference. Now, the only thing I would be cautious about is that Berkut could get a new weapon plus weapon refine. He is a year 1 unit, by the way. That could change things, but until it happens, well, I would say Conrad holds a pretty nice spot as a defensive Lance Cav. His base kit is also pretty good, so hey, if you just want a melee mixed tank, then Conrad ain't bad. The real downfall of tanking Cavaliers is that their builds are just limited compared to infantry or armored units. They also have less base stat totals, and mobility isn't that huge of an advantage when your main playstyle is to bait enemies in. It's just something you have to accept, but that doesn't mean they can't be good, and if you need a mobile team, then a 3 movement Cavalier is better than a 1 movement armor. Conrad comes with a really good kit, so we don't have to do much to make him work. His low base speed means he is pretty much relegated to enemy phase type builds, and that means quick riposte is skill choice number 1 if you want any kind of KO potential. Luckily, if you want to keep chill attack, then you can slot quick riposte into the Sacred Seal slot. With a defense refined barrier lance and bracing stance, Conrad will still have 42 defense and 46 res on the enemy phase. If you want more guaranteed stats, then quick riposte can go in the B slot, and you can have close defense, distant defense, warding, or safe stance to fill that Sacred Seal slot. Very traditional, super simple build. You can also slot bond skills into either the A slot or seal slot, and that's probably your cheapest options if you want more attack. With Glacius, Conrad won't proc in 1 round of combat, so if you really want him to KO stuff, you're going to want to use Iceberg or Bonfire with quick riposte. For the C slot, you can go with something like Honed Cavalry if you run a cavalry team, or for more defensive power, Odd Res Wave or Attack Smoke are available on Spare, 4-star Mercedes or Kaze respectively. If we are feeling a little more generous, then Conrad would love some more premium skill options. With his good defense and resistance plus Barrier Lance, good old distant counter isn't a bad option. Plus we do have the defense and res bond seal now, which can replace distant defense or close defense if you don't want to choose between melee or range tanking. Other powerful A skills include Fortress Defense and Res 3 for that crazy +6 defense and res boost, or even Distant Defense 4 if you want to neutralize enemy field buffs. The other good tier 4 defensive skills include Steady or Warding Stance 4, both inflict guard on the enemy, which is very good to have on a slow tank. If we cannot stop follow-up attacks, stopping specials from activating is a good thing to have instead. If you don't want to give Conrad some of these super rare skills, which is understandable, then he would also love to have Brave Lucina's Steady Breath buff from her new Refine. Cavaliers cannot use the Breath A skills, which are amazing for tanks, but Lucina can help remedy this. Conrad would be able to spam Glacius in 1 round or charge up Aether much faster. The only downside is that you're running 2 Lance units. Last, I just want to go over some support options that Conrad can take, and feel free to mix any of these skills in with the other builds. One of his best selling points is that high base resistance, and thankfully that means Conrad can activate ploy debuffs easier. If you want to do this, definitely go with a res refined weapon for the extra +4 resistance, and consider that +1 merge for another +2 res. That bumps Conrad up to 41 flat res, which is great all things considered. For overkill, you can go with Fortress Defense and Res 3, but another cheaper option is just Res +3 or HP plus Res 2. Running double ploy debuffs are nice, and feel free to choose whatever ploys you want depending on the team comp. However, to do even more supporting without having to fight, Conrad can use the Wagasa Plus Lance, which is a lance that has built-in Chill Defense 3. You can grab this weapon from New Year's Leg Yarn, who is a Tempest Reward unit. With this weapon, we can go with a Chill B skill for double chills and double ploys. That's pretty fun, or you could do triple chills as well. A more expensive expensive build is double ploys plus a sabotage B skill, but if you want Conrad to still do some killing, then Ogasa plus quick repose plus double ploys might be the balance you are looking for. To mix in any of these other debuffs, we have good old allied team buffs like rally skills and link buffs. Not listed here are the ruse skills as well as feint skills. Lots of options to choose from, but if you just want one ploy in the C slot, then that's perfectly fine as well. So should you promote Conrad to 5 stars? Well, he does sport an impressive mixed bulk for a Cavalier, and 34 defense and 35 resistance is very high total for this class. His low speed does mean he will get hit often, so you're going to need to stack even more defensive res to truly make Conrad a scary tank. His base kit does help achieve this since Barrier Lance adds a ridiculous amount of stats, mainly extra resistance. Bracing Stance adds extra defense and res for the enemy phase, synergizing with Barrier Lance and still leaving room for field buffs as well. As for Chill Attack, it's good as usual, super annoying debuff and gives some team support options. Overall, Conrad is not going to break the game by any means, but he's great for very little investment. Cavalry tanks just don't get access to some of the best tank abilities like Steady Breath, fighter skills for army units, or the no B skills that infantry can use. In terms of meta units, tank cavaliers just don't offer anything that an infantry armored tank can't match. Lower base stats, lack of skills, and while mobility is nice, that doesn't help in combat performance. This kind of stuff applies to arena or 8th raids, and while Conrad can work there, he won't be at the very top or be the most popular. However, there are plenty of other modes where Conrad will do perfectly fine. Play this game how you want to play it, and any unit can serve a purpose. Just slap on quick repose and you have a very nice mixed tank who can move around the map to where he is needed. Last time I talked about if the Death Knight was Berkut 2.0, and my feeling was that Daycare wasn't a huge improvement over Berkut stat-wise. Is Conrad actually Berkut 2.0? Well, he has less HP and attack, but a monstrous 11 more resistance, and if your game plan is to tank magic damage with either Berkut's Lance or the Barrier Lance, then I would have to think that Conrad does a better job. Like we went over, give him a +1 merge and a res refined lance, and Conrad sits at 41 res already. Before we get ahead of ourselves, I would recommend checking out the Death Knight if you want a slightly more balanced tanky lance cavalier. His weapon can allow for a bit more offensive usage, and while he may not have the highest defensive res, if you can prevent a follow-up attack, that is very strong. Death Knight will be a bit tougher to utilize fully, while Conrad is super simple. Stack more defensive res and play for the enemy phase. The number of Lance Cavaliers with even a decent res stat is rather rare, so adding a high res Lance Cav to your barracks can be nice to have. That's all for this video. Let me know your thoughts on Conrad and what your plans are for using him. You know, maybe in the future Cavaliers may get some better skill options, and that could allow slower Cavs like Conrad to have a stronger place. We'll have to wait and see. I'm probably gonna 5-star a Conrad for myself, no plans for anything crazy, maybe just a simple quick repose 2 instead of running it as a seal. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.